Hey guys, welcome to my new video. This is my first Q&A video and I got a lot of questions from you. I didn't expect that, so I was really surprised and I'm really happy that you asked me all of those questions. So I'm gonna try to answer all of them and I think it will be quite a long video, so let's see how it goes. I'll try to reply all of the questions. I'm gonna start with the questions from YouTube and then go to the questions that you asked me on Instagram. So let's go. So the first question on Facebook, actually questions, for how long have you been drawing? Was art something that you learned with your family? And do you draw on paper as well, or do you focus on the digital art? So I've been drawing for 2 years, mostly digitally. I started drawing when I got my first iPad and I got Procreate immediately and started drawing. So it was exactly 2 years ago. And then sometimes I would draw on paper. It's not very common for me. It's very difficult when I switch from digital art to traditional art. Sometimes I do try to draw traditionally, but mostly I prefer digital art. And art wasn't something I learned from my family. None of my parents are artists, so that's something that I learned as an adult and because I wanted to. So the next question, hi, what tips do you have for beginners who don't yet have their own style? How do we discover our drawing style and your own ways to improve drawing skills? Thank you so much for doing this Q&A. So tips for people who don't yet have their own style. As a beginner, I think people get really obsessed with the style, and I'm not an exception. When I started drawing, I tried to do so many different courses on style, and actually I didn't know how to draw yet, basically. I mean, I didn't know the foundations, the basics. So in this case, I don't think that these kind of courses are very useful when you don't have foundation yet. So I would really recommend to take different courses from different people, try to learn all the foundations like shadows, slides. If you want to learn character design, then character design, environment design, I don't know, perspectives. You don't have to go into depth, but start taking some courses. And I think many people say that, but your style will find you. So actually, you don't need to really look for your style and be obsessed with it. I mean, you can definitely improve it if you look at the art that you enjoy, you collect references, mood boards, try to first copy someone else's style and then implement these what you've learned in your own drawings. That definitely helps, but I think it's not the thing for a beginner to do. I would focus more on the basics first. And the second part of this question about how we discover our drawing style and our own ways. As I've said, I think it just takes time. The more you draw, the more you observe and look at art, the more your visual library will develop and you will have more tools, more ideas. I don't know, it will get much easier for you to do something in your style. The next question, any advice on how to get started as a complete beginner and improve like you did? Like a short roadmap of things I should learn first. And if you have course recommendations, please let us know. Love your arts. Thank you so much. So as a complete beginner, actually that was my case. I was a complete beginner when I started drawing in Procreate. So what I did was I started to take a lot of courses. Like I went on Skillshare, I looked for things that I enjoyed, so I knew that I wanted to draw characters, for example. So I started looking for classes that teach character design. Then eventually I started learning more about the basics, the foundations, the shadows, lights, and only now I'm actually learning perspective. So it's not something that I learned in the beginning, which is actually one of the foundations of drawing. But yeah, I have my own learning path, I would say. But I guess as a beginner, to improve fast, you really need to practice. So I cannot highlight this enough. You just need to do things, to draw, to make a lot of bad drawings. So at first your drawings will suck, and it's okay. You just need to learn, you need to enjoy the process, you need to practice as much as you can, and eventually you will start liking your art. So I would really recommend to do things that you enjoy first, but also try to find the courses that might be a little bit boring for you, but they're necessary. For example, about shadows, lights, or perspective, right? So what I would recommend, I think I will leave some courses in the description because it's hard to think off top of my head. But yeah, the best courses that I've taken are definitely Shadows and Lights by Evelyn Stockart. I don't remember the name of the course, but I will link it in the description. And some Domestika courses. So I will try to compile all the courses that I've taken and maybe even make another video on them because I think it's a big topic. The next questions are from Instagram, and I got a lot of questions about lights and shadows. Actually, not a lot, too, but that was more than the other questions. So about light and shadow techniques and how did you learn to draw light? There are two questions about that. For me, the best way to learn shadows and lights was the course by Evelyn Stockart. Again, I'm mentioning it, and it was amazing. She explains everything so well. She gives 4 different lighting scenarios for you to practice, so you can follow along the course and you will learn how to do those. And then you can start to do your own thing with these techniques. But I think for me it was the best one. I learned so much from it, and I think it made my art look so much better. So I recommend this course. I think that was the main thing that that helped me to learn shadows and lights. Then there is another question about art style. So I think I already answered that. Just try to focus more on the technique, and then the art style will develop naturally as you grow and as you soak in more information. Then the next question: what is your favorite Disney princess to draw? I don't have a favorite Disney princess to draw, but off top of my head, I would say Rapunzel is. I think sometimes when I draw, I try to make the portraits that I draw similar to Rapunzel because I think she's my favorite Disney princess. So maybe I should try to draw her. The next question was, how do you find inspiration to draw? And there was a similar question, what inspires you most? So I would say other artists' illustrations. So when I go on Instagram, I like to save a lot of references, a lot of arts that inspire me. So, and then I can go back to this folder. Usually I have a folder where I save nice artworks. I have another folder for references. So there I save the photos that I find on Instagram. But yeah, sometimes I just go through these folders to look at the art that I saved, and it really inspires me to create something of my own. And also Pinterest, because there I have a lot of boards and their recommendations are really personalized, so I get a lot of photos that inspire me based on what I had saved before. So it's a great place to get inspired, I think. And sometimes it's just life when you go out, you see something nice, you take a photo, you want to draw it, or yeah, sometimes it comes unexpectedly. I guess what inspires me most will be other artists' artworks, because sometimes you find some gorgeous artwork, and it really makes you feel what the author of this artwork wanted to convey, and you want to create something of that kind or with a similar vibe. So I guess the artworks of other artists. The next question: what was your learning structure when you started? Any course recommendation for absolute beginners? So I guess I already answered that a little bit about my learning structure. There was no structure. I just went through different courses. I tried to, yeah, basically I drew every day. I can tell you that since I started, like almost every day I drew something. So some days more, some days less, but it was a really consistent practice for me. So that helped a lot. But again, as for the courses, I will try either to make another video on them or link them in the description. I will think about it. The next question: which brushes do you use? So mostly I use standard Procreate brushes like 6B pencil, Nico Rule, Ink Bleed. But I have a lot of brush sets that I bought and I never use them. So that's my weakness. I often buy brushes. I have so many sets. I don't know, more than 20, I guess. And yeah, sometimes I use some of them, but it's very rare. I usually come back to the other brushes, I don't know, like 6B pencil and so on, because yeah, I don't know why, but they are really easy to use and suit my style. And I think it doesn't matter which brushes you use, because the way that you draw will look similar even with different brushes. So I don't know if it makes sense, but I noticed that I buy a set of brushes and then I start drawing with them, and the result is very similar to how I usually draw with other brushes. So it doesn't make that much of a difference. Sometimes, yeah, you have brushes with different effects, like snow or something like that, but mostly how you render things, how you color will not change so much. I hope it makes sense, but I wouldn't buy so many brushes. It's just something that I can't stop sometimes. And the next question: best illustrators you recommend on Patreon? So I follow Isabella Agosti's Patreon. Sometimes I follow Magdalena Dianova's Patreon, and also Loish Patreon. I think those three Patreons are my favorite. I try to follow other ones, but sometimes I start following, then I stop, then I follow again. But these three I follow the most consistently. I think they're really, really useful. So Isabella Agosti has a lot of cool tutorials about lights, about hair, hands. So I learned a lot from her and I love her style. I think that's the style that inspires me the most. And Magdalena Dianova has a lot of cool tutorials as well. She has a wide range of topics that she covers, and I love her tutorials too. And Loish as well. She has long tutorials with a lot of explanations. So I think these three Patreons that I recommend. And the last question: what is your top 2 favorite art styles to draw, if you have more than one? Well, I wouldn't say that I have more than one art style. I like to draw in a cartoony style, so as I can say that about characters as well as not characters, like the objects and things like that. So I don't know if there is a name to this style. I just like to draw cartoony things and not realistic things. Yeah, that's basically it. I know that I don't like realistic style, that's all. But actually, sometimes I like to use a vector style, not in Procreate. I'm trying to learn vector illustration. So actually, I do like vector style. I'm just not very good at it yet, but I'm learning. So for me, like cartoony style and vector style illustrations, that's it. I guess I answered all of your questions. If you have any more questions, feel free to ask me in the comments, or I can make another video later on. So I hope it helped you, and I hope you got all the answers you needed. And thank you so much for watching, and see you in the next video. Bye bye.